Hello and welcome to Physionic, where we learn the body from the macro to the micro. If that's something you think you'd be interested in, then consider subscribing. Today's topic is a good one. It's certainly physiology related, it's certainly nutrition related, and this topic was brought to us by Chancel Nuc. I'm saying it slightly French because I have no idea how else to pronounce it. So with that said, Chancel wants to know: so what happens to fat? And I'm going to redefine that as lipid when you consume it. So there's going to be a good amount of physiology explained with this nutrition. So again, I'm redefining the term fat, even though on an actual nutrition label you would see the term fat. I'm going to redefine that as lipid, but they're synonymous, they're the exact same thing. There's good reason for me to redefine it as such. So what happens to those lipids that you consume? Well, they enter your intestinal tract, and then from there, because a lipid is called a triglyceride. So a triglyceride being two particular molecules that are stuck together. One of them is a glycerol backbone, which is one of those molecules, and then the second one is fatty acids. So you have three fatty acids that are attached to that glycerol backbone. Now, those, when they're combined, when you actually have the glycerol attached to those fatty acids, they can't cross the intestinal wall. So what happens is, with the addition of chyme, which breaks up, and a bunch of other enzymes as well, you have different lipidases that get involved. They break up the fatty acids from the actual glycerol backbone, and then you have this transmigration through the intestinal wall. And once that happens, they are repackaged together, so reattached in what's called chylomicrons. So these chylomicrons are these balls. They're just these structures that house different lipids, and then they can move through the circulatory system and be delivered to a variety of different locations, well, really just anywhere in the body that allows that migration, that movement, that packaging, that like UPS service of those chylomicrons to different areas of the body. Now, then the lipids are then disassociated again, so you've got your fatty acids and your glycerol, and then they can move into particular cells, and then those cells essentially use them for a vast number of different functions. So most people think about adipocytes, so your fat cells, and that's why I wanted to redefine it. Your fat cells are different from your lipids or the fat that you consume, but your fat cells are called fat cells for a pretty good reason, because they house a lot of lipids. So you've got those lipids that can be broken up, sent into your fat cells, and then rejoined together to then stick in that particular cell structure. They can also be housed in your muscle cells. Most people don't think about that, but that tends to be on either extreme. If you're extremely fit, you can have intramuscular lipids, which is advantageous, or if you are incredibly obese, there is a potential for lipotoxicity, in which you have an accrual of lipids that are stuck in your muscle cells that shouldn't be there. So that is a potential outcome. They can also go to your liver, and they can be converted to a variety of other metabolites, like, for example, ketone bodies. They could be used for that. Let's see, what else? They could also be sent into really any one of your other cells and be able to be used for metabolism purposes, just to generate energy. So immediately from the gut, going straight from the intestines, going straight into your other cells and being able to use those lipids for actual energy. So some of it's going to be stored, some of it's going to be converted, some of it's going to be used for metabolism. And then another potential outcome is you could use a process called lipidation, in which you are going to be attaching lipids or particular segments of lipids to particular protein structures within the cells or outside of the cells. And that allows for signaling molecules. So you have a bunch of different outcomes for why you need these lipids and what exactly happens once they enter your body. So what happens to fat? What happens to lipids? All kinds of different things happen to them. They're not just stored and then just used for energy later on. They are constantly moving from one cell to another cell and being used for a wide variety of different processes. I didn't even mention cell membranes. Your cell membranes need a certain amount of cholesterol and lipids to be able to create those membranes and create that difference between the extracellular environment and the intracellular environment. So I could go on. I could seriously go on. There are a massive amount of different functions for lipids. But that's where I'll leave it for now, and hopefully that answered your question. Chancel, I have no idea if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Hopefully I am. Hopefully I'm getting somewhere close. And anybody else that was interested, you guys voted on it. That was the most highly upvoted question. So with that said, hopefully it was informative, and I hope to have the pleasure of speaking with you in the next one. Have a good one, guys. Bye.